I have to take the NSCA CSCS exam. I got a job as a personal trainer, and I have to recertify within 90 days of my start date. So that means my start date, my hire date was May 8th, so I have till August 8th. Unless I did the math wrong. May, June, July. Yeah. I have an old certification. It lapsed. I let it go because I wasn't training anymore. It was an NASM certification. It's pretty good. But I'd have to retake that exam. But I've always wanted to take this exam, Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist, which is administered by the NSCA, National Strength and Conditioning Association. This test is very difficult. It's got all kinds of stuff. I'm not going to go into the contents of the test. I'll explain maybe I'll just give you I'll give you a quick the sections: exercise sciences, sports psychology, nutrition, exercise technique, program design, organization and administration, testing, ongoing monitoring, and data evaluation. It's 220 questions. There's an applied part and a theoretical part, and each section lasts 2 hours, and the total is 220 questions. And the overall score, I have to get at least a 70% on each section to pass, and they don't grade it on a curve. They do something with standardizing the scores or whatever, because there's probably multiple versions of the test. I think that's what it's based on, and so they base the score. They do something. They adjust the score based on the difficulty of that specific exam. So whatever it is, I got to beat that minimum. Today I took my first practice test, full length, 220 questions. I did not simulate test conditions where I have to sit in a cold room with an uncomfortable chair. I was sitting on my back deck. I blew through it pretty quickly. I don't bother with the time. I will take longer because I'm assuming that the actual test will be much more difficult than any practice exam. I scored a 73% and change on the whole exam. Well, let's take a step back here and let's talk about the origin of my study plan. Let's just go by this. So today is Saturday, July 15th. I have my test I signed up for August 7th, which is a Monday. So I have about 3 weeks. I started studying hard for this, just putting the time in towards the end of May. So it's about a month and a half, a little over a month and a half that I've been at this. I have an electronic copy of the textbook. So what I did was I read the book, the 4th edition. This is the 3rd edition. This is a brick. And of course, you got to make sure you have the latest edition because it's all testable, right? But let me tell you about this book, because the new edition comes with links to videos and all this neat stuff. But really, everything is testable within a book. That's what I've learned from college, right? And watching doctoral dissertations and going to class. But there's stuff that's absolutely critical that we must know to be certified strength and conditioning specialists. The book has a lot of commentary. It's based on research, so it's heavily cited. So couched within, well, let me explain. There's a lot of fluff. We'll call it fluff. It's not fluff. It's scientific. It's information, but it's things based on the research, which means it's suggested, or it alludes to, or it may be, or we found in this population, but in this other population it was not. There's a lot of that, just like scientific research. Conjecture, right? There's no solid. For a lot of things, there's not a solid, definitive answer right now. So that makes it easy to find those pieces of critical, testable information, guaranteed testable information, because it's couched as this is the way it is statements inside of all of that. So it's pretty easy to get through. But what it does is, because this is, you could call it, like if you're in project management, you know what the PMBOK is. This is like the body of knowledge for strength and conditioning. And so what you have is a lot of practices and theoretical knowledge and ideas, information that provide a lot of context and conversation. And that's good to know for the job, for any job you're going to get in strength and conditioning. but there's stuff that we have to identify so we can take the test, right? And so part of the requirement for the CSCS is that you have a bachelor's degree. And hopefully one of the skills that any of us picked up in college, getting a bachelor's degree, was critical thinking and being able to identify what's going to be on the test. My stepfather, when I started sixth grade, he started helping me study, sixth grade through like the rest of middle school and high school. The way that he helped me study taught me to figure out what's going to be on the exam. And that's a really critical skill right there. Hold on a second. Let me check something out here. So that's what I'm using here. I'm trying to figure out what's going to be on it. And I was pretty good at that in college. I could determine the vast majority of what the testable material, if not the exact questions I was going to get asked on a test. And a lot of it was organic chemistry. So I could figure out they're going to ask this mechanism. He's going to ask about, with these reagents, or they're going to mention this paper. And there's only so much information. But and that right there is the problem. There's only so much information. This is a lot of information. So the difficult part of the studying was the massive volume I had to digest very quickly, because that was the first part. I had to read the book. And then there's some really great videos online. There's a couple of YouTube channels with some guys who, this is what they do. They just teach the CSCS curriculum, and they have courses that you can pay for to get more heavily involved with their method of studying. So with the book, reading the book, the 4th edition, what I did was I took notes. I went through and I wrote down in my notebooks. Right here, these marbled notebooks filled up with notes. So all this stuff, like here's the beginning of that. And you can see like the difference in my notes. I was all super happy. I was like, oh, look at those. I'm going to make a nice letter right there. That's the indication that I start a new chapter. I got these nice diagrams, great handwriting. And then by the time I got to the end, it was looking like this, like chicken scratch. I just wanted to get this over with because it's over 600 pages. But the stuff, the body of it was like, I don't know, five. I guess minus the end material and it's probably 600 pages of text, but there's a lot of diagrams. And so that was part of, so I got this little star here, what I need to talk about. I took notes, and in taking these notes, I found what's important to learn for the CSCS exam are things like work to rest ratios, or like rep schemes to build strength or hypertrophy, or rest times for certain rest schemes, or in program design, how much of one kind of training you put when you're with other kinds of training. So ratios are good. Equations like the Carbonin formula, which is pretty easy. 220 minus your age equals your maximum heart rate, which is theoretical. Tables. There's a lot of tables. There's a lot of data from Division I athletes, like what their maximum lifts are based on what sport they're in and whether they're girls or boys. And then calculations. Already said that. Oh, no, not just equations like here's the Carbonin formula to figure out your max heart rate, but calculations like figuring out based on caloric requirements, figure out for a certain, an advanced whatever with this body weight, trying to gain muscle or lose fat. Here's how many calories they eat. How long will it take them to lose weight, or what's their macronutrient breakdown to gain weight, healthily gain muscle. Okay, so that's those things. I took the practice quizzes. I should go back into the earlier textbook and take those questions as well. But most of those questions are the same, but it's always good to check that out, because practice questions from the source are going to be the best thing. Because what these companies do is you sign when you take the tests, you do like at the GRE or the GMAT even, you do the same thing. You sign a thing that says, I'm not going to, word for word plagiarize these questions and put them on a website or sell people educational material. Like Kaplan or Princeton Review. They're the main sources for standardized test taking for like SATs, GREs, GMATs, things like that. I don't think they do a CSCS exam prep course. In any case, take the quizzes, take the notes, watch the videos, read the book. Go to the source, get the information, because a lot of these other sites that do CSCS review will have sort of like a bare bones bit of like a body of knowledge there for you, but it's not, I wouldn't trust it to be complete enough to take the test and do well. I have to study to get 100, because if I just shoot the pass, then that strategy to me, I have not testing, studying to just pass. That sounds like one is doomed to failure and it's a terrible mindset. You must study to get 100. Okay, next. So now that I've finished earlier this week, I bought this book here. This is 5th edition CSCS exam prep by, let's get his name correct, Joshua Rueda. And this is this year's 2023-2024. And this has what I was just talking about. It's got this much. Yeah, right. I mean, the tests don't even start till right here. So he's got a couple hundred pages that go through all the chapters and topics. Like this right here is all, this half is going to be your content, and then each section has, it's a summary of the textbook with a few questions at the end of each section, little practice quiz. And then the cool thing is, after the quizzes and each full-length test, 4 220-question tests, there are answer explanations. Every answer is explained, which is totally cool. So my strategy, which I've begun employing today, unfortunately, see, I got a little sad face here, I don't have a timeline yet. I haven't split up my time like 3 weeks. I'm going to do this on this day, this on this day, this on this day. But right now, I'm going to take the exams and then base my studying on the exams. Use that as like diagnosing what I know and what I don't know. So today I did the first exam, and now I'm taking notes on the wrong answers. So I'm going through, I graded them all. I got all the sections. What I did was, so I broke it down. Here I got a 73, right? My unmodified raw percentile. I passed. I don't know if that would be, that's my first time through. See what's wrong, what I don't know. I don't know what that would be curved or modified to. Maybe I would fail. I don't know. So I broke it down. I've got all the rights and wrongs all marked here. So now I go back and I look at every one of those, and I divided it up by sections. My worst sections were TOMD. Was it testing something, design? Hold on, I'll tell you what that is. Testing, ongoing monitoring. Testing, ongoing monitoring, and data evaluation. I did terrible on. I got 50%. And nutrition, I got 45%. So my best, I got exercise science and organization and administration. Organization administration. I have an MBA, so if I mess that part up, then I deserve to fail this test. What else we got here? And then in the middle, I got SP, sports psychology, which is a new addition to the test, exercise technique, and PD. What's PD? Program design. So those are in the middle, between 70 and 80 for those. So this is, I'm happy with this. This is a good diagnostic, and it didn't crush me.